So
Yeah,
today, this is Eric Meyers online interviewing John Dowie of Dowie Farms. How you doing, John?
great, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too horrible. I appreciate you getting on and doing this for me. I know it's a lot out of the big day that Dowie Farms has every day.
Yeah. Constant work.
So we're just gonna kick right into it. Dowie Farms. What exactly do you guys do?
We're a very small farm in southern New Hampshire that produces duck eggs, quail eggs, chicken eggs, and microgreens, primarily microgreens. We started out with duck eggs and we moved into some other things. Microgreens really took off. We also distribute for what is it? One, two, three, like four other small farms in southern New Hampshire, or in New Hampshire, not really southern New Hampshire. So basically, we try to find other small farms that don't have access distribution to restaurants, and we try to give them that, and we mark that up obviously. So it works out pretty good for that. We mostly our target market is restaurants. We do also though do home delivery and farm pickup, and I'll sell to anybody really, but our the bread and butter is restaurant sales.
All right. So you say that's probably what 80, 90% of your business, or a little bit less?
Yeah, 95 maybe. It's pretty
Okay.
high. Yeah.
Hey, it's a good market, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
they always upsell everything there too. So
it's easy. It's easier. Like some people like it the other way though. Like some people would rather sell at farmers markets and talk and sell to people. But I was in the restaurant industry for 24-ish years, so I kind of know how to deal with those people. So
yeah, I've heard a little bit about your restaurant experience. We'll get to that
yeah,
in a little bit.
just a little bit. We'll do it,
So,
action there.
what prompted you to start Dowie Farms?
Um, so I grew up in upstate New York in the country, way up on Lake Ontario. And when I was like a kid, 10, I was like, Dad, I want ducks, because we were at the feed store and they had ducks. And he let me get ducks, and I just kind of started doing that. I did that for years. Had a lot of bad experiences up there with ducks because like there's a shitload of predators, and basically you just get new ducks every year and they would just get annihilated. But like it was just terrible. But we had some that lived and whatever. So I just kind of liked doing it then, and we always had gardens and whatever, and there was like some small orchard type stuff going on, and there was a lot of farms around. And really the motivation was, it's funny because if you had asked me in like 2008, do you want to be a farmer? I'd have been like, what are you even talking about? Like I had no idea. So I was in restaurant management then. And then we bought a house, and we decided we knew we wanted a garden right away. We were looking for a tiller, and we were going to different stores, and we ended up at a feed store that had a couple of ducks. They had 2 ducks, right? And there was a stupid law in New Hampshire at the time that said, if you're a store and you're going to sell ducks, you have to sell 12 at a time, right? So I was like, hey, I thought you have to sell 12. What's going on here? And they're like, oh yeah, that somebody was going to come back for those 2, but I don't think they're gonna. And I was like, well, what happens? And they were like, well, we can't sell them, so we actually have to kill them. And I was like, well, what is that? That's ridiculous. And I go, look, if you have to, can you give them away? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, look, if the guy doesn't come back in a couple of days, call me and I'll take them. And of course, the phone rang 2 days later, and I started out with 2 white Pekin ducks. 11, almost, it'll be 12 years ago in March, April. I actually still have one of those 2 ducks.
Really?
It's insane that it's still alive. I call her Old Lady Duck. She's awesome. She's got such a weird personality.
I didn't know ducks could grow to 12 years old. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like almost 12. It's crazy. They're only really supposed to make like 7. The other one got landed on by a turkey at some point that I was also raising and killed. But now we have like 60. But anyway, so we used to have about 100. But yeah, so that happened, and the gardening happened, and then the job. I've always kind of been like, what can I do that's not working for somebody else? So even when I was a little kid, I just mowed lawns and whatever, and raked lawns. And obviously I wasn't 12 and I worked for a landscaping company. I don't think it was an option, but I was always out trying to like find the ways to make money when I was like a teenager, like a young teenager. And like I remember living in Rhode Island in 1998, and I had a decent computer, and I remember sitting in front front of the computer all the time going, there's got to be a way that I can work for myself and not have to go be a line cook. I was like a line cook then. And ever since then, I just had the mentality of like, I want to work for myself. This is the worst, having to go to a job. So eventually, you know, I just kind of banged my head against the wall until I figured it out. And farming just kind of picked me, I guess, in that way. Like I always kind of liked it. You know, I got fired from a job that paid really well, kind of unexpectedly. And, you know, I just kind of scrambled trying to make money. And then the farm thing was, we were selling eggs, but we weren't really making any money selling eggs. And I was always just kind of eyes open for that cash crop. And then our mutual friend, Jack Spirko, did a podcast with a guy who does microgreens. And I was like, I'll try this shit out, whatever. So I literally like took a Home Depot shelf that we had and a Home Depot shop light that we had, right, from like seed starting, and 2 like flats with, and put potting soil in them, and went to Agway and I bought like some pea seeds and stuff. And I just like, the wife came home and she was bartender at the time. And she's like, what's that? And I was like, I'm trying this thing to grow some microgreens or whatever. You know, nobody knows what they are. She was like, okay, whatever. Like that's her answer usually when I'm doing something weird, because I'm always like, I'm going to do this thing. And she's like, all right, whatever. So they grew, obviously, like, you know, 10 days later or so they were ready. And she worked at a high-end place. So I kind of cut them and said, hey, take these to your chefs and let me know what they think. And they were like, this is amazing. So it just kind of went from there. I started growing more. I started succession planting them. And then like before I went out marketing, and then I went and started taking samples to chefs, and I ended up getting a restaurant right in town. And he kind of helped me figure it out too, because he had a lot of feedback, like in a good way. he told me, he's like, I was washing them, but I wasn't drying them. So he's like, you got to dry these. You got to get like a salad spinner. You got to like pick the seeds out of cilantro microgreens and stuff, you know, little tips here and there that really kind of, like if I had went to the next restaurant and not had that amateur kind of shit worked out, I would have never went anywhere probably.
Hey, I mean, listen to the client. That's the best way to improve the product,
definitely,
right?
Definitely.
So how much volume are you doing as far as microgreens then? Is it pretty significant?
Yeah, we're 75%, I'd say, is microgreens in our recorded like restaurant sales that I look at weekly. We write down private sales separately and then deal with that later, but we have to generate invoices for restaurants. So like, for instance, we have goals, like sales goals, obviously. So our low tier goal is 1,500 total, but we're kind of not making much money when we do that in a week. But if we do 1,500 in greens only, and then 500 in resale items, we end up, you know, hitting all of our targets and like our budgeted targets for our home, you know, and paying ourselves too, or ourselves as well.
Well, I guess instead of volume,
so
money per se, but like volume of product, like how many greens are you growing through a week?
Like pounds?
Weight wise, flats wise.
So it's like, it's always a tough number to come up with, to be honest with you. Like people ask me that and I never really know the answer. But like, I know that like, it's probably 10 to 20, but it's like, it's tough to say because like our average, so like we do about 1,700 a week in green sales, I would say, and our average is like $4 an ounce. So that is like 16 pounds.
Okay, that's way too much math for me, but
yeah, it's like between 15 and 20 pounds a week of microgreens. Microgreens are weird though, because like I literally have chefs that order. I got a standing order at a restaurant in Nashua, and he gets 4 ounces of purple basil every week. So it's you know what I mean. But it's like I'm going to Nashua anyway once a week or on that day, and he's right near one of the other restaurants I sell to. So why wouldn't I make? He gets it's $24 for 4 ounces of this purple basil. It's $6 an ounce. So why wouldn't I get $24? I'm going to be there anyway, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So, and our business model was always super, super customizable orders, which was definitely something in the market that wasn't available, you know? So like we really went into this and said, okay, you know, first things first, is this like a viable option on a farm? Right. And then we said, okay, yep, we identified that was definitely something that we could make money. And then we went, where are the opportunities in that market? you know, with chefs. Like, what do they want that they can't get? And before even talking to them, I kind of knew, like, produce companies sell a package of this shit and it rots and it sucks. It doesn't taste like anything. It's not washed. So like, we wash and dry. We offer custom ordering. We usually offer no minimums, because, and a lot of people in this business are like, I'm not going to deliver unless you order $60. And I'm like, look, man, it's on you to get more customers near that guy. It's not on him always to order. I mean, sometimes you're going to do that. Like, if it's in a weird place and there's only one restaurant there, right? You need to have a minimum. But
yeah, definitely. I can imagine some of the little towns up in New Hampshire probably don't have too much business.
But if it's in like Manchester or something, you know, if it's in a town where there's 8 other restaurants, man, it's on you to get more, you know? So we never usually do minimum orders. So it's custom washed, like, we'll grow stuff for you. So, you know, 2 days a week delivery consistently. So I think just identifying the opportunities really, and the consistency of our delivery days were the, you know, 2 big advantages that put us, you know, on the radar. That's a long answer. There's a long answer.
It's perfect.
That's what I'm going to do to you.
Hey, the more you talk, the less I got to cut out. So, you know, that's nice. So is it just you essentially as the figurehead and the worker of the company? Do you have other workers, other employees?
So we've had, like, we'll call them interns a couple times. So, but it never really went anywhere. Like, I had 2 girls that worked for me, not at the same time. That, you know, we brought them on when we were trying to do like more marketing, and my wife was working a full-time job, and she was working on the farm, but she was burning out. And so we brought somebody on, and then we started doing some farmers markets to try to pay that labor, you know, and it kind of worked. It didn't not work. It was okay, but that person moved on. She was like a drifter, right? Like a job drifter, you know?
Yeah.
And like, you know, 14 jobs a year kind of person. But she was cool, but like, I knew she wasn't staying. I've also, like, being in restaurant management for 12 years, I've hired and fired like thousands of people. So when I meet somebody, I know where it's going, you know? So then I had another girl in town that I always wanted to hire because she worked for a friend of mine who does greenhouses, right? And I knew how good she was at it. And I actually got her on board, and she really, like, made our farmers market successful, you know, like, she was great at it. She actually was a coordinator at the farmers market we were going to before, on the board or whatever. So she came in and, like, set us all up, and, like, we did really well that year with her. And then Corona, right? We ended up not being able to retain her because we weren't doing any sales, because they closed all our customers in like a week. And then when it all came back on and we got to a point where we probably could bring her back, it didn't make a lot of sense because the wife didn't go back to the full-time bartending job, and she came on board with the farm full-time. And even if we could, she's got something else going on. So we just decided we kind of like it this way, where it's just her and I doing the business, running the business 100%. You know, if we got too big and had to hire somebody, I would figure it out. But I know a lot of people push me to get an employee. A lot of times they're like, well, you can free up more of your time to do this and that. And that's true, but we just kind of like it. You know, I don't know what it is, but it's like, so to answer your question, like, shorter, it's just me and my wife.
Awesome.
There you go.
So I kind of want to go on 2 strands with that one. Let's go down the first one, I guess. Automation. So if it's just you and your wife, have you built any automation into the systems, or have you mechanized anything during the, obviously, production of eggs or the production of the microgreens?
Yeah, some. As far as the farm at home goes, there's some. Let's start there because that's simpler, I guess. You know, like, we have, it gets cold here, water freezes, right? We have it's like pseudo automation, I guess. And when it's not cold, there's a hose and a pool for ducks, and it's on a timer. Simple, right? Most of my automation is just like, here's a timer. You know what I mean? So hose is on one of those Melnor, like, hose timer things that I had a bad luck with for years, but I found one that isn't breaking. So it's like a miracle one. And that thing goes off like 6 times a day and just overflows a pool, and the ducks love that. Then I've never been able to figure out how to really automate feeding because there's so many of them, and it just doesn't seem like it's really worth my time. I put a bag of feed down every day. I got to pick up eggs anyway, right?
Yeah.
I looked into a machine to wash eggs. I watched some disgusting video off Alibaba where a guy was standing in a tiled, looked like a gym locker room with this egg washing machine with like hundreds of duck eggs going through that were totally coated in shit. And like the guy's just standing in this room barefoot in a pool of shitty water. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not buying that thing. So it was super expensive, right? That was actually at a moment where we were trying to decide, do we want to go big with eggs and try to like lease land and do more? Or do we want to just say, let's keep this kind of small and maybe even scale back? And we obviously decide to go crazy big. But that machine was like $4,000 or something. So anyway, so like not a ton of automation other than just like the pool fills itself. And then in the winter, dragging the hose in and out sucks, right? So I actually have hooked up a compressor to the hose so I can blow the water out of the hose every time we have to fill the pool, So, and then there's there's a stock tank heater in that pool that's on a temperature controlled, like an Inkbird temperature controller, because that thing will just run until the water is 72. It'll never be 72 in New Hampshire until like friggin' May, right? So it's on a thing that only turns it on when it's minus 32 or like 33, and like when it gets above 33, it turns it off. So it only comes on when the ambient temperature is frozen, which saves us a ton of money in electricity, actually. It saves us like $50 a month doing it that way. It's pretty cool. Electricity expensive up here. So then in the grow room, there's like a ton of Wi-Fi outlets that we use. So we buy these Wi-Fi power strips that hold, there's 10 outlets, but 5 are smart outlets. And conveniently, and this wasn't the case at the beginning because we only find them that had 3, but whatever. Conveniently, my racks are 5 high, and there's like basically 6 of those. 2 are double wide, so but whatever. There's 6 stacks of 5 flood tables, right?
All right.
So we have 12 of those. So 5 of them, or 6 of them run lights on a schedule, right? Off and on the schedule. It's all LEDs now, so they can handle, the power strip can handle the load. And then the other 6 power strips run 5 pumps for each rack, right? So each flood table has its own pump, and I can go in and set that to go off on whatever interval I see fit to water whatever it is I'm growing. So like we have specific racks for specific crops. Like radish needs a lot of water, so that thing goes off more often than say like basil that dies if you overwater it, right? So, and then we do kind of monitor. We're here most days anyway, but that just kind of reduces our workload, and it does give us an opportunity to like tomorrow's Thanksgiving, we're not going to come here, right? Because the auto watering will take care of it for us for a day or two, but it definitely makes mistakes. So it's kind of like that automation is a lesser of two evils, just that basic level, because like we make mistakes too when we water because we'll overwater stuff, right? The automation doesn't usually overwater, but sometimes it doesn't water enough. So it's like pick your poison. There is more of the automation we could do with like Arduino and all that stuff where you'd have like moisture sensors in soil and whatever and take readings. But 1, I'm not smart enough to understand that. And 2, it's like $100 and something per rack. And we have, 60 or something, right? I don't know, 30, 40, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, 30. So it'd be $3,000 minimum to really fully automate and pull that kind of data in. Otherwise, I'm like real big on Wi-Fi thermostats, stuff like that. Like, so our heat and AC and stuff are on that, so I can remotely because this grow room's 13 miles from my house. So I have to make sure if something weird is going on, I can do something. And then actually the next step is we have like a water pipe coming in, right? And we're on a 2nd story above an engineer or an engine room, right? For a different business that's worth like way too much money. And they make auto, you can shut off a valve, right? From remotely now with plumbing stuff. So it's like $40. So I'm like, I'm going to put that Wi-Fi controlled on off, shut off plumbing valve on this main valve. So if I ever get a leak detection, because I have a leak detection system too, like with the Govee leak detectors, something floods and starts screwing shit up, I can turn the water off, at least the main water, and I can turn all the pumps off remotely. So I'd have that. And then I have temperature sensors all over the place, temperature, humidity sensors. So we have made it so we can like take a day off here and there, but we definitely haven't really automated everything. There's definitely more we can do. Like I've used QuickBooks and the auto integration with that stuff. So that counts because that's a lot of time, doing accounting work. But like as far as harvest and stuff goes, I can't imagine up a way, right, that we could pick a tray up, harvest it, wash it, dry it, package it, put it in the fridge. I know there are places that do lettuce this way, but I also know that quality of the product it's sketchy sometimes. Because there's a place right near me that does it, and I've seen it, and I'm not impressed.
It's a fair point, and there's always room to automate more and more. I mean, you can put tons of money into automation. So
anyway, that's our very rudimentary automation. It's just like 400 Wi-Fi outlets. It's our automation, and a bunch of temperature sensors.
Cool. So on the last item you brought up, coronavirus. How did you guys handle that as a business? I mean, especially since your clientele is essentially closed down.
Yeah, we freaked out. Like, so we had the best first week of March we ever had. And then I was standing in a restaurant when Trump was giving that one speech where everybody started really taking it seriously, right? And I had just gotten a new customer that was about to be closed, right? So it sucked. I mean, it was like I was driving home. My brother's like very in tune to the stuff. He's like, "This is for real," and I'm like, "Nah, it'll be a couple of weeks," and I was obviously wrong. So they shut all our customers down. The reaction I think for any entrepreneur is like you just have to go. Like, so I saw a lot of my friends that are like, "This is great. I just eat Doritos and watch Netflix all day," right? And I'm like, I wasn't like right away not able to collect unemployment or anything, right? So because like the way our business was structured at the time, my wife was a bartender, so she was going to be able to, right? But we still were like, oh my God, we're going to lose it. So her unemployment would kind of pay our bills at home, but it wouldn't pay any of the, like, you still got to feed ducks, right? I still got to pay the lease at the grow room. There's all kinds of stuff I got to do still. So, your instant reaction is you're going to lose everything, right? And then I think if you're a real entrepreneur, your next step is I'm going to fight to save everything, So we went full on, like, what do we do? Like, we were on Facebook, like in like homeschool or like mothers groups and stuff locally, trying to drum up home delivery sales. I started tailoring our website a little more towards home delivery. We kind of failed at that. But I did grab like some more home delivery people. It wasn't enough to really do everything we needed to do, but it was enough, like with a couple of restaurants that were still ordering because takeout, right? And her unemployment money, and then like the little bit of money we were getting from home delivery, like, because we could bring the business down to bare bones, right?
Yep.
Just survival mode, right? So we had a number. I want to say it was like $350 a week. It was like we had to hit that number in sales, right? So we shut off most of the lights. We scaled it back on climate control and kind of rolled the dice there, right? We were going to spring, so that was a little easier anyway. The ducks are the ducks. They got to eat. But everybody wanted eggs, so that was good. We sold all of our eggs all summer, right? So that was like, we made money on eggs. You got to feed the ducks anyway. So at some point you kind of go, well, we're going to feed these things. So if we can sell the eggs, at least, we're paying for that. Right. And then if the greens could make enough to just pay for the grow room, that was all we were looking for, because we could pay our bills, with her money. Then I started trying to explore how to grow hydroponic lettuce in like an IBC tote for my home delivery customers, so we could expand like our product line in an easy way. And we also started doing raw milk home delivery, which that didn't work out, but we tried, whatever. Like we didn't get enough people. I figured like everybody would want raw milk delivered to their house.
Is New Hampshire a state that allows raw milk?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So like I connected with a farm, which is what we're good at, and had it lined up, and it was kind of a little confusing because we had like a middleman meetup spot that's like a little harvest type store. And he didn't really understand what's going on, so he kept overcharging me and whatever. I was only selling like 4 gallons a week. It was like 45 miles away, so it just didn't work. But I gave it a try for a while, right? You had to give it the try, try to advertise it, whatever. Never worked out. Fine. So, but the lettuce thing turned into me selling barrels, which I know you know about, but like that was nuts. Cause like then I started selling these barrels and like it sounds ridiculous, you know, it's empty soda barrels and stuff. People buy the shit out of those. So like we side hustled that, you know, and then so that was going on, you know, and it's not like making a ton of money, but it's paying some bills, you know, is what it was. And it was its own thing, which is cool, you know, like, you know, separate, I guess, from the farm, just a different hustle, right? And then like the feds gave states money, I guess. That's how they did that with under Trump, I guess. They like gave
the PPP loans or whatever.
Yeah, like I didn't get that because they did eventually open up self-employed people to unemployment, right? So I had to choose between the two, and taking the unemployment was way better than the PPP because there was the extra $600 or whatever, right? Then it was like nuts because then it's like, oh, now I'm actually doing better than I was before. Like, what's going on, you know? So, and then there were grants. So, like, I know every state handled it differently, but I think that like the Trump administration gave the states a pile of money and said, "Do as you will," right? And New Hampshire opened up this Main Street program and really like you showed what you did last year for sales and what you did this year for sales. And I was like, look, I did, you know, whatever, like $10,000 last year in July. And this year I've done $600, you know, or something ridiculously low, you know, and, or maybe it was like 1,000, you know, or something like, or 2,000, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And then they were actually, I think it was like I'd done 10 grand and the year before, and I think I did 4. Right. And they just cut you a check for 6 grand. And it's like, okay. And then, and before all that, there was the loans, right? The SBA loans. And the very first wave of SBA loans weren't available to farms. And then they were like, no, Department of Ag will take care of that. Yeah. And then Department of Ag was like, we're not doing that. It was a mess. And I started bitching on Facebook. I was like, I changed this. So like, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like this like bullshit interdepartmental argument, right? Whatever. So then like 6 weeks later, they opened it up, like small SBA opened up to farms. And the first thing we did is we took one of those because we were like, okay, if I can get, like I qualified for like a $30,000 loan, right? At 3% interest for 30-year repay. I'm like, it's a no brainer. It's $110 a month, right? So, and you had a year to start paying. And I was like, okay, we'll do that. Whatever. If it saves my business, I'll do it. So we did that. And then when the grants kicked in, because the loan money was there, we were able to actually that's when we upgraded to LEDs because I was like, I'm fucking all in on this. Like we're going to sink or swim essentially. I'm like, I'm going to upgrade my equipment so that when we come back online, it'll be cheaper to operate and the money's here and we have to spend it on the business anyway, you know, obviously. So like, let's do that. And we could also kind of pay ourselves, you know, a little bit. So we didn't actually end up doing that. We actually just ended up buying a shitload of equipment, but it did put us in a better place. We bought like seed, soil, and little did I know there was going to be supply chain disruptions, right? So we went into weird supply chain disruptions in a good place because we were able to funnel those funds into like, let me get 3 pallets of perlite. Let me get a pallet or 2 of soil. Let me bulk buy seeds that I wouldn't normally bulk buy. You know, because I was worried about running out of stuff, right? I was worried that like the world would run out of sunflower seeds, you know what I mean? Like, or something stupid. But like, I didn't know everything was going to be a pain in the ass because we saw the toilet paper thing in the beginning, right? So, and then there was like some meat shortages and stuff. So I was smart about that. Now I've continued that. So I'm still doing coronavirus like protocol in this business, right? So now I'm like, because we have rolling shortages, right? Every time I'm ordering something that I know I need a lot of, I get a year to year and a half supply of it. And I just do it that way. And it's a lot of money up front, but it's kind of an investment. It's going to go up in price anyway.
Especially if it's an item that's not going to go bad on you.
Yeah. Like I just put up one of those portable garage things, right? Like a shelter logic thing, right? And filled it with soil. I took 3 pallets of bag potting soil, which is what we use. And it's just in there. It's great. You saw a picture of it, I think. So it's a lot of soil. It's in there. And then the next day I went, you know what? There's been a perlite problem. Maybe I need to do this with perlite. So now we're putting up another one. And we're filling it with perlite, like, cause whatever. And I took 1,000 pounds of pea seeds like a couple of weeks ago, like a month ago, maybe. That's 1 year's worth of pea tendril seeds for us, which is good because during Corona, there was a week where I needed pea tendril seeds. It was only a week or two, but I couldn't get them anywhere. So I'm like, nope, not playing this fucking game. Cause like I just ordered 100 pounds of cilantro seeds which is a lot of cilantro, right? Because I'm like, there might be a shortage on that. Who knows? So let me get it in now, So it's really just like, it's a lot of foresight kind of planning. Like once you like, okay, you and I are involved in communities, probably, should I say this, that like know when stuff's going to happen. Like a lot of times we know a lot of people that know.
We get a little bit of advance notice sometimes.
Yeah. Like somebody said, I don't even know if it was in our world, but like somebody said, like, there's gonna be another paper shortage. Right. Did you hear this?
Yep.
And like 6 weeks ago, I want to say. So I told people I knew that I thought needed to know, but I turned around and ordered 10 cases of paper towels that we use to plant. Cause I'm like, whatever, I'm going to buy them anyway. Like I just don't want to not have them. So now I have 10 cases of brown paper towels because I'm like a paper towel hoarder.
I imagine filling that order was probably pretty interesting at the store.
Right. Well, Amazon, it's fine. Just shit.
Right
But the UPS guy was like, dude, what is happening?
So I know you mentioned the barrels. Is there any plans on expanding Dowie Farms at this point? Maybe obviously not the duck eggs, because you talked about you're kind of where you want to be on the ducks, but
yeah,
as far as growing the microgreens or any other operational changes or expansions you guys are planning?
So barrels are becoming their own business, and not just and they were anyway, but like they're becoming like its own actual entity, right? Because I want to split it off.
Okay.
And we want to target like business sales for that too, business to business sales more so, because like selling, and we'll sell to people still, obviously, but like because I like money. So, but like I've noticed there's like a common thread with some of the people that have like when people buy barrels, it's waves. It's springtime and people are doing stuff, right? It's fall and people want burn barrels or whatever. I noticed that businesses are consistent.
They're burning those barrels?
They burn, they burn leaves.
Oh my God, those are plastic barrels, aren't they?
No, I sell metal barrels too.
Oh, okay.
I know, no, but I did have a guy. I had one guy that asked me if he could make a grill out of a plastic barrel.
Oh my God,
and he was serious. I was like, holy shit, dude. I wanted to say yes so bad, but anyway, I couldn't. So, but I've noticed like I get a lot of HVAC guys, right, that are draining old oil tanks and transferring it, and they got and this is like an ongoing. Like every week I get one or two of these guys, and there are a shitload of HVAC companies around here and a shitload of plumbing companies, right? Tons of them. And then I get construction guys that buy different size barrels. They cut the tops off. They use them for garbage cans on their construction site, right? And I'm like, you know what? If I offered these guys site delivery, for
a bulk order,
like, or even a small order with like a fixed delivery cost, if it made sense, right? Developed like a route and said, hey, look, I deliver on these days for that, whatever. I'm just like kind of brainstorming this right now. So there's that, and there's definitely plans to expand rain barrels. Like, so we build rain barrels, and I just want to get them right first because I'm not 100% satisfied with the quality of them yet, which is another like part of my business model is I am a stickler for quality. Like I won't sell something that sucks. I just don't want to, right? So if I can get that right, I'll sell at greenhouse stores and feed stores or whatever. Well, we're in one, but I'll push more. As far as the farm side goes, eggs, we're scaling back because every other year eggs are a pain in the ass because every other year someone else decides they're going to sell duck eggs and they sell them for half the price we do. And then they go out of business because they're not doing any math, So every other year we eat it on duck eggs. So I'm just done with it. We have a dozen to 20 maybe regular egg customers that we've had for years. And most of those people are allergy people or diet needs, right? Cancer, that kind of shit. And we're going to continue to supply them and continue to have eggs for ourselves. And if we have extra, that's fine. They'll be in the farm stand, but we're not pushing egg sales with like restaurants and stuff anymore, which was our bread and butter with eggs for a while. But the restaurants kind of are trendy, phasey kind of thing, and 7 years ago, every restaurant was like, oh my God, duck eggs. And they're local, right? And now they're just like, nah, no use for them whatsoever. So we it sucks, but But microgreens are like, we are heavy. Well, not now because it's Thanksgiving, but up until about 5 days ago, for the last 3 months, we've been like heavy marketing in Boston, which is where the money really is. We have New Hampshire on lockdown, essentially. Where we want to be in New Hampshire. There's other growers in New Hampshire up north of me, and I have no desire whatsoever to go up there. So like we have the population centers locked down. Like we have almost all that business except for Portsmouth, which has always been weird because there's a guy in Maine that has had that since before we were growing. But like even Northern Mass, we have that. There's like a little pocket in between here in Boston we don't have, but we've never tried because there's not a lot there, but there's some. We just skipped it, went right to Boston, which we'll backtrack at some point, cover there. But we're trying to keep it to 2 days a week delivery. We were doing 3 and we just dropped that back to 2. It's really tough because it's like 300 miles and it's, a lot, and it's through downtown Boston on a Friday. So it's like get in and out, man, but, and who knows, like one day the van might break down and then what, like that kind of thing. And, but yeah, we're heavy marketing, like trying to really build like a solid presence in Boston. And I've seen it kind of go the right way because like in New Hampshire, we have like a great relationship with our chefs, right? This network of chefs in New Hampshire, they all know each other, right? And I'm finding that in Boston, and I kind of just got lucky and I hit the right restaurant first and I hit the right restaurant second. And then I knew a guy from a previous restaurant that hooked me up into another group, right? So the first one, some celebrity chef he was on Chopped. I think he was in Hell's Kitchen. And he owns like 3 restaurants in Boston. We have one of them because his other one, he gets such a player price on this weird blend that like I don't even know how the guy makes money supplying him with it. And I'm just like, let him do that. I'm not going to do that. So, but this account's big. It's like $400 a week, and he knows this other guy that I happen to walk into his restaurant, and it's another like guy in Boston that they all know, right? And he's got a ton of connections. So like we're developing this web, right? And then I was in my first restaurant and I had driven by a different place and I said, "Hey, what's up with that place? Do you know anything about it?" to the chef in the place where I was at. And he goes, "Oh yeah, the chef's name is Colton." And I'm like, "Okay, it's got to be the same Colton I know. How many guys are named Colton?" Right? So I was going to wait till the next week and bring samples. And I went, "Colton, like big dude, always smiling." He's like, and his Spanish dude I'm dealing with it is very like, he's like 60-40 on English. Right. And he's like you can understand it, but you can tell heavy accent. Right. And I can't remember where he's from. Oh, it might be, I'm sorry. I think he's Brazilian, but still tough to understand sometimes, but you can, if you focus. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of shaped like a triangle. I was like, yeah, that guy. So I just said, fuck it. I'm walking up there now on a Friday. I'm like, because I know him. And I walked in and we got that one. Right. And then he goes, "Oh, we have a sister restaurant too." Perfect. Right. So we go to the sister restaurant last week, walk in. It's a dude from out of town, but that's good sometimes too. It's like a guy that just moved here from Manhattan. Right. But that's good too. Like just all these little inroads. And the best part about this is like we have competition in Boston, right? Literally, like I created it like an asshole, right? So I have a YouTube channel. I teach people how to grow microgreens, kind of like I just talk about my business on it. And this kid in Boston got like a grant or something from MIT or BC, whatever, to start up a business, an urban farm. He got a pile of cash, watched my videos, basically copied my entire business model. Like website was fucking verbatim, right?
Hey, that's what you're there for though,
yeah,
right?
Right?
That's what you're doing.
Text messages me and says, "Hey man, I noticed that you own bostonmicrogreens.com. Would you sell me that domain name?" And I'm like, "No, I literally registered that domain name the day we started the business for this exact fucking reason." Like, why would I sell it? That's the exact opposite of what I'm trying to do here, Like you can go ahead and compete, but I'm not going to like help you, even though I already did. Right. So then I was kind of annoyed that I like kind of created this, but I'm in Boston and I don't know, like, I don't know if this is going to get released. Maybe it will. I don't give a shit. I'm hearing not great things about what they're doing, and like I'm hearing about ordering discrepancies, and I'm hearing about quality, shelf life. And these are the things that we do right all the time, right? We are like, we will never bring you shit you don't want. We will bring you exactly what you want down to the ounce every time, right? And that's our thing. And I guess like this new chef I talked to from Manhattan, he's like, I have a standing order with them. I go in the cooler. I've got 8 packages still because we were slow. I go through their ordering thing and I cancel my standing order for that week. And then I call them, and then I go in the next day and it's there anyway. And I've got 8 packages of greens that cost fucking $300 that are going to just rot, And I'm like, that will never happen with us. Like ever. It's just me and my wife, which is another thing. Like that's me and my wife. Like we have a nice solid system down on how we do it. We group text message the chefs between all 3 of them. So me and her and the chef, there's one text that goes to each restaurant, right? So that when they reply, like if my phone's not working for some stupid reason, she'll still get the text, right? That's the reason we do that. But there's no way for us to screw up really that way, And they like, there's like 7 people working there. And I think they just don't have the right management or structure, Yeah. So
there's always an expansion opportunity there. It's a short train ride from Boston down to New York City. So I mean, if you get that Manhattan guy to give you some, some referrals.
What's scary is, so my niece is marrying a chef on Long Island that is always, every year at Christmas we have a 20-minute conversation about how could I ship him my greens, right? And he's because the pricing is insane for him on Long Island.
Everything's expensive on Long Island.
He's paying this astronomical number for the same product that they ship to the produce companies in Boston, that when they resell it to my, the chefs up here that buy it, it is like, I don't know, 30% as much as he's paying. And he's like 3 miles from the place where they grow it. It's insane.
It's that great warehouse deal right there.
Right.
So this is going to kind of put you on point. Is there a Dowie Farms mission statement or a company vision, a formalized one?
Yeah. Hold on. I'll read it.
Really?
I think it's on the website. Let me see if I can pull that over. Did I answer your last question all the way?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, for us, expanding is just getting more restaurants and getting to our goal, our sales goals.
Well, I think the barrels, even though they're breaking off now, that was an expansion. And like you said, you're doing the online thing as well. I mean, I don't know how much income that'll bring in, but
and we're doing some social media or some of this type stuff, right? I've started a podcast with a friend that we're talking about just small realities of small farming. So no bullshit. Like, I think I probably said it to you, because this is my thing, is it's like, no, you can't grow microgreens in your grandmother's fucking condo, your studio apartment bathroom and make $2,000 a week. I hate that. So it's like, we're very like nuts and bolts. Like, this is how it is. Right. Oh, I used to have a thing on here. So
you can wing it. I mean, it doesn't have to be verbatim.
No, that's okay. But I mean, we're a small family farm, right? Our goal is to provide the highest quality local microgreens as you can, and do it as regeneratively and environmentally responsible as we can and as we see fit. So I'm very clear about the fact that I'm not like a lunatic, and I'm not, right? I'm not running the van on biodiesel and shit.
John Dowie, Eco Warrior.
Yeah, I do what I have to do. But I do try to like minimize our waste a lot. Our electric bill is ridiculous, and there is a future growth plan to get us back to our house into a different structure that's got to be built and onto solar. And it's more of a financial thing than anything, which I actually like. Let's live in reality, dude. Like anybody doing anything green, it's all financial. You know what I mean? So like, find me someone that's spending a shitload of money just out of the goodness of their heart, and I'll find you a unicorn. So like, so it's all, obviously profit, bottom line driven, but it feels good too. You know what I mean? Well, like the barrel thing, it's like we sell barrels that would otherwise end up in a landfill. So that's good. We give them a second move, So, but yeah, we try to use the most responsible stuff we can. We try to source as much as we can locally with minimum waste, and really just like kind of, like we've created 2 jobs, right? Because I don't have a job and she doesn't have a job. So we've created a couple jobs. Now there's 2 more jobs out there that someone else can have. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. We use it, man. The mission statement was there and I don't know where it went, but I had written up this really nice thing about, oh yeah. Dowie Farms, a micro farm located in Derry, owned by John and Jenny Noviel, or John Dowie and Jenny Noviel. We employ regenerative and sustainable practice wherever possible. We produce that. It's what we. Oh, I think I deleted half of it. It was too long and stupid.
You hit the wickets anyway.
We specifically grow soil based, except for full size lettuce, which we do a little bit of. But we think soil based microgreens are the best. You'll never convince me that you can totally replicate what soil's doing with chemicals in a fucking, or additives in water, right? So we try to produce the highest quality, locally produced, responsible product. And then we try to reuse everything. Like I said, like we use soil, right? But then we reuse that soil and we use that for local causes in a way. Like I have friends, neighbors, other people that want to start gardens, and we usually give that away. So it's like, hey, I need to fill a new garden bed. Okay, I'll be right up. And I just fill it. Here you go. Here's high-end potting soil, and that gets people growing and it builds some community and gets people a little more self-sufficient. So
yeah, I appreciate you jumping on that and getting ahead of my next question. So that's awesome.
Snap.
Is there, so now obviously you're saying you're contributing to people to kind of help build a little bit of community and kind of encourage gardening around the area. Is there any other social work side that Dowie Farms is involved in? Does the company do any charitable giving or anything of that nature?
Yeah, we Dowie Farm, but the barrel thing did donate some money this year to a veterans home. But whatever, we just did that. It's a long story. It's not a great story actually, because it kind of concludes in us donating to a veterans home and the guy that we were working with screwing us over. But whatever, right?
It happens.
It is what it is. So yeah, we do. In the spring, if there are injured birds, wild birds, we take them and rehab. So we do that. Like it's not an official thing, but I really actually do kind of like. I really like doing it, and I've always kind of wanted to add two things to my website that I just haven't. I don't even have my website squared away yet, so I'm not going to start adding shit. But like, I get people that reach out to me constantly with either wild injured ducks or a turkey last year that didn't make it, but whatever. Like there'll be a mother and like 5 chicks in a road and a fucking truck runs over them, right? And one lives, but it's like got a bad leg. We take those. We live on a little river where there are a lot of ducks. We take them, we raise them, rehab them as much as we can, and then we put them out with our ducks, and then eventually they leave. And then so mission accomplished, right? They fly away with the rest of the wild ducks. Yep. So we really like doing that. Like we genuinely like love doing that, right? It's a great time. Like if I could just be like independently wealthy, I think I would just have like a dog shelter and an injured bird sanctuary, right? That's what I would do. So like if I didn't have to make money. So we do that. We don't take other people's domestic birds. Now, I think this is a real problem in the world, right? Or in the United States, where people that have no clue what they're doing every year in the spring go to Tractor Supply and they see cute little balls of puff and they buy them. And then they give them to their 4-year-old daughter as a gift. And then 3 weeks later, they're like, holy shit, these things are messy. They're going to end up being a full-size bird. Like, what have I done? What do I do now? Right. And there's no way to get rid of them. So I get asked constantly, like all year, can you take my ducks? Can you take my chickens? And I can't. I'm like, no, I can't take your useless, frankly, to me, birds, because I buy specific ducks that lay eggs, right? I don't need more white pecans that are a waste of my time, And then obviously, if they're giving you a duck, they don't really want you to eat it either, right? So there's that.
I mean, I guess you don't have to tell them either, but
yeah, I'm so bad at lying to people. So I've always will take any wild birds, but I've always kind of wanted to like set up some sort of an exchange site where like, if you're looking, because I get people to call me that are looking right now, I just kind of do it on my phone. Like I'll get people to go, do you sell ducks? And I'll go, no, but I do hook people up with other people that are trying to get rid of ducks. So message me and tell me what you want with your name, whatever. And I'll write it down on a piece of paper in my office. And then when I get someone else going, I've got 3 khaki Campbells and I can't keep them and whatever, I just hook the 2 people up, right? and I let them work it out. I don't, facilitate anything. But I think a website for that would be a great idea. Where it's like, I have ducks I want to get rid of for free.
Ducktrader.com.
I'm looking for ducks. Yeah. Or any birds, right? Not any birds. I'm not interested in doing this for fucking cockatiels and stuff. But farm and birds, right? But yeah, so we do the wildlife rehab thing. We do kind of facilitate that other thing. Anytime anybody calls me for information or with a question, I always give them a lot of time, because I think that needs to be something that's done more often in farming. I think a lot of farmers aren't very social. Okay. So it's tough for them to really talk to people. I guess I'm very social. So if someone calls me and says, I'm thinking about getting button quail, this happened to me the other day. And I was like, look, I don't know anything about button quail, but I can tell you all about Coturnix quail, And then they were like, oh, maybe that's what I want. And then we talked about Coturnix quail, and I get people that buy my eggs to hatch. I don't really technically sell hatching eggs, but when they get it, when I sell them eggs and they're like, I'm going to hatch, I give them a shitload of information on how to do it. And here's my number and call me, and here's my YouTube channel. There's stuff there. Here's this other guy that has everything you'd ever want to know about quail. Right. And, so just that kind of outreach, I guess. And then, like I said, the soil thing, anybody that wants the soil generally can get it. I have started selling it now. So it's not that literally Saturday, I think I'm going to be selling my first load of soil ever. So, but I'm delivering it to somebody that's not right in my immediate. All my neighbors can still have it for nothing, so whatever. But yeah, that's
cool. So wandering a little bit off the business. So you mentioned that you used to manage some restaurants. You want to talk a little bit more about your personal background and kind of what steered you towards the microgreens, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, well, the microgreens just kind of where here's something you can make money on. And like I said, I didn't want to have a job anymore. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you I am super passionate about microgreens, because I'm not. I don't eat them, right? People are like, oh, you must eat really healthy. I just eat hot dogs. I don't eat anything else.
Microwave hot dogs.
That's not
we know.
I do eat a lot of hot dogs, but I don't eat them, ever really. I do know how to eat them and whatever. And, it's just it's not something I think about eating. So the duck thing was a passion thing, and the microgreens thing were a money thing, I don't hate it either though. It's fine. It's I'm okay with it, whatever, obviously. It's not running a restaurant, which I didn't hate. I just hated working for people who either didn't have a fucking clue what was going on or were assholes. You know what I mean? Or were scumbags, right? Because I've had all those, right? I was very good at it. I started out 15 as a dishwasher in this really nice Italian restaurant in upstate New York. And it was one chef owner, and that was it. And then I was the only guy that could ever cook for him. He would just throw everybody else out, right? So I was very good, right? And then I moved to New England, and I got a job as a saute cook at a shitty Italian place, but they paid me well. So I did that. I was drunk half the time. And then it's a weird place. It was 100% a mafia front. So anyway, maybe don't talk about that. So anyway, so I did that. And then I was in college for restaurant management, which I learned quickly was a total waste of money and time. And I got out of that. And then I was a line cook, and I was waiting tables at a Pizza Hut, which is weird. But I made a ton of money doing that because I was so good at it that I could just cook and wait tables and make cook salary and all the tips. And it was actually really good. I was making $300 a day doing that. So and then I was a line cook at a ground round. So we're in the Wayback Machine. So I realized quickly the competition of other employees around me in New England was low. And I was I can move up in this world. I'll just do this. So I did. I just started moving up. I always had my faults. I'm always late, whatever, get over it. Right. So I'm 25 times better than anybody else. So I'm going to be late. You know what I mean? So, so I got into management, and I managed Applebee's first, right? Cause it was I got the job. That was the reason. Right. It actually was a good company for a while. And it was a good company to work for. And I opened restaurants for them and hired staff and opened opening new restaurants. From the ground up, all the systems, all the staffing, all that. And then they got bought by IHOP and ruined it. And it was just like hostile. It went from like these really nice people in Kansas City ran the company to these really awful people that told you fucking sucked every day ran it. Right? It was weird.
Good way to promote employee retention, huh?
Yeah. So I got out. I was like, all right, I'm out then, if you don't want to do this. So I also got passed over for a promotion I really should have had. And I was like, fine, I'm out. And then I got, because I submitted a plan to recover this restaurant and I didn't get it. And they gave it to some guy who really was not good. And then when he failed, transferred me to the restaurant and asked me to implement the plan. And I said, oh, I'll implement the plan if I'm the general manager, but I'm not implementing any fucking plans as a kitchen manager still. And I quit because they didn't want to do it. So I was like, I'm out. So I went and worked for like one other restaurant briefly that was terrible. It was like wicked cokeheads running the place. So I was out. And then I ended up working for Hooters, which is interesting, right? It's always interesting. And ended up being a general manager for them after being an assistant for a little while in a new restaurant. And we took that from like the 20th-ish busiest restaurant in the entire world of Hooters to 9th in like whatever amount of time, with a Buffalo Wild Wings that opened right behind us. The day I took over as GM, they opened a Wild Wings. I was like, oh, great. I'm the scapegoat. That's what I like. I was like, they're going to just tag all this decline in sales on me. And I only declined in sales for 3 months. And then we just fucking to the moon. Right.
Nice.
So I was good at what I did. I was good at making money. I was good at like just logically like looking at a situation and figuring out like what the fundamental problems are, which like last night I was at a restaurant and just disaster, like just the worst service I've ever had in my life. And it just started with like the manager is nowhere to be found. It's like, the fuck is going on in this place? Like, it's no excuse, So like hands-on management, that kind of thing was always my thing. So this is probably, a good job for me running this business because it's very hands-on all the time. I've never been like, let's sit in the office and enter invoices for 17 hours. I'd rather open a vein, So like I did that. I loved that job. It was a lot of fun. I was able to like build my staff to a point where it was like a fine-tuned machine, and everybody was really happy working for me. It was just a great place to be. The owners of that company were probably some of the biggest scumbags I've ever worked with in my life, like the owners of my franchise. And there was a lot of harassment going on behind the scenes that I would buffer out, and like there was a lot of weird shit, like fire this person because they've been here for too long, fire a girl because she's been here for 2 years. That's it. That was the only reason, because they wanted fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not fucking firing my best employees because you want different looking girls. You know what I mean? Not even like the girl wasn't like missing the mark on the requirements of looks. You know what I mean? She looked great, but they just wanted her gone because she'd been there for too long. And I'm like, never going to do that. So they hated me for that. Right. They were always trying to get me on shit because I wouldn't do half the stuff they wanted done because I thought it was dumb. And it was. So like, the one weird thing was like I had run restaurants very successfully going in there. I had been in restaurants for like 18 or 19 years by the time I got there, or maybe 17, whatever. I knew restaurants like in and out. And I knew how every single position in that restaurant was supposed to work, how to train it, how to make it great, right? And then Hooters has this weird thing where they just hire old Hooters managers. The guys that were a cook at Hooters that had never worked anywhere else, got promoted, got fired for banging someone, and now he's on the market. He moves from South Carolina to Massachusetts, right? And they're like, oh, he's got Hooters experience, hire him. And then I'm like the GM and I got this guy that doesn't know anything, right? Other than how to like hire a hot chick. Okay. And then they're not even good at that half the time, right? So like I was running it like a restaurant with hot girls. They were running it like, here's hot girls. Oh, and we have food. You know what I mean? So I was making tons of money there doing that. But they, like I said, they were scummy behind the scenes. There was a lot of weird stuff going on with staffing. They were sexually harassing girls, not to like a super extreme level, but just like, a little bit of quid pro quo, like, hey, I get you to the calendar contest if you go on a date with me, that kind of stuff. It wasn't like Weinstein level shit, right? But it was, bad. And then there was a lot of like them buying drugs off the girls sometimes, like pills and whatever, serving underage girls after hours. And then they fired me. Which is great. And then I I don't know. I want to get into this. We'll get off the record. I'll tell you about how I got fired. It was great. I just like told the guy that fired me to sit in the corner while I said goodbye to my staff, and then walked around for like 45 minutes and said goodbye to everybody. And he didn't move. He was like afraid. I was like, but usually we get fired. They're like, you're out of here right now. You know what I mean? Like you can't. Don't try to take staff with you to your next restaurant, that kind of thing. I just walked around individually, every person. Just don't care. Like you just sit in the corner and shut up, you know? Like, so then I was kind of on my own. And I got one other restaurant job after that, but I was ruined because the Hooters job was so much fun, you know, that I went to like some uptight place and I was like, this is the worst. And then I realized I was burnt. And I became a bartender for a little while just to make ends meet. I mowed lawns. I started a landscaping business for a year. I actually liked that too, but it just wasn't going to do it, you know? So I stopped doing that. And then this took over. And then this ebbs and flows and other little side hustles fill in when this ebbs, you know, like we also sell like greenhouse supplies online. We're trying to grow that part of it so we can have some less labor involved income.
Nice. So you didn't start full time on the Dowie Farms initially. You were doing this as kind of like more of a side hustle, and then it grew.
Yeah, 100%. Because like in the beginning, I was like, "Holy shit, we can make like an extra $175 a week." Like it was like that because I was making good money bartending. You know, I was a really good bartender, and I always was, and like I just had managed too, right? So I was like slinging drinks and making like, I don't know, like $1,200 a week or something stupid like that in like 4 days. So I was doing that, but I knew that like the fuse on that wasn't going to be very long, you know, literally the fuse, because at some point I threw a guy off the patio, like literally. And because he told me he told me he wasn't going to leave. I was like, yeah, you are. So that was the day I knew. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to end up killing somebody. So yeah, I was bartending, making good money, and then kind of figured we were always doing the eggs. You know, that was the thing. In the background, since we bought the house and we had the 2 ducks, then we had 4 because some teacher got rid of some she hatched in a classroom, and we wanted a couple more in case like one died. We didn't want to have 1 duck. And coming from where I came from, like I said, ducks just got massacred all the time, right? So I assumed we were going to have dead ducks, and it turns out we're in this weird sweet spot of predators where we don't have any, right? And we're in like this weird pocket where one side's a river, one side's a mountain, one side's a swamp, you know, that kind of thing. So nothing really comes out at us. And now we have a fence in the Great Pyrenees, so don't worry about it. But like, we never lost them. We never lost anything to predators back then. It was crazy. So and then we adopted one from like the ASPCA because they had a female duck. So we had this like magpie, and we ended up with like 6 or 8, and then they started laying eggs, right? And I was like, holy shit, these are huge, and you can only eat so many a day. And then, you know, you just start selling them, right? And we were selling them for like $6 or something, right? And then we had like 20 at one point, and we were selling them to a bakery or like a little like meat market-y bakery type place. We were selling them in there, and that kind of started that. And then we were like, then we became so like we had a ton of eggs, and then like nobody wanted duck eggs. Nobody even knew what they were. And I looked at my wife and I said, "Oh, nobody eats duck eggs around here, but we'll develop this market." And we did. Like we started selling them in that store. We would do like on-site things. We'd go there and try to meet, like, you know, like when you go into a Walmart and they're giving out samples. We'd crack eggs right into people's mouths. No, I'm just kidding. So like we'd go in and educate people about duck eggs, right? And we did. We like became the place to get duck eggs, you know, within a year or two. So that kind of made it easy because we were already doing it. You know what I mean? And then when the microgreens came along, we had sold to a couple of restaurants like duck eggs. We had here and there that they'd call us up. Then it was like, oh, this is easy to deal with chefs, so we'll just do that, you know. And then the transition happened, I'd say. So we started selling microgreens in April 2014. I was full time by late 2015. This is maybe a year, a little over.
Okay.
And we leased this place.
Sounds like a pretty scheduled event, I'll be looking for your podcast on survivalism coming soon.
Oh no. Yeah, right.
Sounds like you've walked another walk. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was homeless for a little while. That when I first moved here, I was like, I lived in a bus terminal. Whatever.
you got to write a book, man. John Dowie After Dark.
I thought about it, man. Write a book, like, because like I think people need that inspiration, like, because I see people that never leave. You know what I mean? And like I lived, you know where I'm from. It sucks. And because you're from there, right? That area. Yeah.
Not too far away.
Yeah, and it's a terrible place. And I looked around and went, there's nothing here for me. I got $50. I'll get on a bus. See you the fuck later. And I did. I just left. I was like, I'm getting on a bus. I got a bag of clothes and $50. Like, and I went to Boston and got a job and lived in a hotel and lived in my car, lived in South Station. And, you know, it's funny to do that thought experiment and look around sometimes, like at what's going on in my house and my farm. I just look around and I go, oh my God. Like, I know that was 23 years ago now, but I like look around, I go, I built this from like, I lived in a bus station.
Yeah, man. moving up is never hard, but it definitely is something good to look back on. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you for taking the time out tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Good time.